Nicholas Reimer here, and I'd like to welcome you to today's topic, nuclear energy. For those who don't know much about it, it would be fair to give you a little introduction before diving deeper on the topic. First of all, nuclear energy is obtained during the split or fission of a large atom, generally uranium. The reaction doesn't end at one element split, however. The release of varying neutron amounts from one element splitting will then react with other nearby uraniums to perform more fissions. This explosive chain reaction is one of the reasons nuclear energy obtains so much energy in an instant, at least compared to burning coal or oil in factories. To give a general idea, studies say that uranium per gram is 8,000 times more efficient than coal or oil in terms of costs and energy production. As a side note, uranium, U-235, is the most popular element to use in nuclear fissions because it's one of the few elements that are so eager to split in the first place, relative to the difficulty the other elements present. The production of nuclear energy also ensures no greenhouse gas emissions during operation, with the only amount used during maintenance and when the nuclear power plant is shutting down. However, it has an average lifespan of 50 to 70 years, so it'll be pretty much clean energy up until those points. And that's for a very long time away. With so many positives in terms of energy efficiency and clean energy, why is nuclear energy not more popularized? Nuclear energy simply isn't popular for many reasons, but the main one being that it's unnatural and could potentially provide permanent, if not debilitating, side effects. The main idea that comes to many minds is the potential for irreversible mutation within all living organisms. While mutations are a terrifying concept, it should be noted that almost all of the nuclear power plants take great care in ensuring the structure and stability in the power plant itself. There are rare cases where a power plant has malfunctioned during operation, however, with cases like Chernobyl. There are rare cases where a nuclear power plant has malfunctioned during operation, however, with cases like Chernobyl. Chernobyl's nuclear plant meltdown in 1986 was devastating to the environment, providing 400 times more nuclear radiation than Hiroshima. It should be noted, however, that Chernobyl's meltdown was due to negligence of both construction and the operators running the facility. Since then, a safety agency known as the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, ensures that all working power plants have safety measures in case anything went wrong. Basically, they made sure that the nuclear power plant completely shut down safely when it reaches unstable levels. The thought of an agency supervising the safety of all power plants was slightly reassuring that nuclear energy could be harvested again, but as recent as 2011, the safety of nuclear power plants were again questioned. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster happened in 2011, Japan, due to a combination of earthquakes and tsunamis. The earthquakes shut down the reactors initially, forcing the emergency diesel generators to instead power their own coolant pumps. However, a tsunami wave of 13 meters high overcame the 10-meter high seawall of the power plant, disrupting the diesel generators and resulting in 3 nuclear meltdowns. The resulting damage from the disaster was thankfully minimal in regards to health, as there have been 0 casualties resulting from acute radiation. Long-term effects still need to be evaluated, however. The nearby sea life has also been reported to have been within healthy numbers of radiation as well, meaning there have been almost no notable health hazards in all regards. In comparing the Chernobyl and Fukushima incidents, it goes to show that those who don't learn from history is doomed to repeat it. The overconfidence in safety, the lack of oversight, and the unprofessionalism of the operators involved resulted both times in disaster. The worst part of the whole ordeal is that even after 30 years and the construction of a nuclear safety agency, these events still happen. The IAEA explicitly mentioned that Fukushima was prone to this kind of situation in 2008, but nuclear officials still managed to evade improving safety measures. Therefore, IAEA must not give recommendations of safety alone, but also enforce their statements. While structure and operator safety can be regulated as much as possible, there's still room for a couple operators making a mistake that could be catastrophic. The fear of something going wrong gets worse when discussing the increased development of fast breeder reactors. Fast breeder reactors are generally described as high risk, high reward for the nuclear energy world, and are being popularized regardless of the incidents that occurred in Fukushima. Fast breeder reactors work by transforming U-238 uranium, which is initially non-fissionable, but is 99.3% of the world's natural uranium, to P-239, which is fissionable plutonium. The fissioning process usually involves plutonium being fissioned within a bed of U-238. The fission then releases neutrons to the surrounding U-238, transforming them into P-239, therefore creating more fuel for future reactions. While this process does require U-238 to create more fuel, it's a very common waste product, as other reactors can't use it at all. They primarily use U-235. In other words, another reactor's trash becomes this reactor's treasure. To simplify, after 10 years of reactor operation, the fuel produced would be enough to fuel both the breeder reactor and another reactor for 10 more years. While the idea of a self-sufficient nuclear power plant sounds interesting, the risk comes in the form of safety concerns, both politically and physically. The amassing of plutonium due to breeders creating it becomes a huge risk if released out of the hands of the nuclear plant. If another situation like Fukushima occurred, where an unforeseen accident in operation happened, the results would be catastrophic. For a frame of reference, it only takes a few milligrams of plutonium to be lethal for humans through airborne emissions or ingestion. If a breeder power plant had a meltdown, there'd be no guarantee anything local would survive, as plutonium may not travel far, but can be lethal in the form of cancer once ingested. Fukushima's disaster could have been drastically different if it was a fast-breeding reactor forming plutonium due to its explosive potential. Plutonium is highly combustible when exposed to air, and it being surrounded by a lot of other stored plutonium could result in an explosion that would wipe out a large portion of Japan. The actual threat of radiation in plutonium is minuscule when compared to the explosive potential it contains, as visible in Hiroshima's example. In conclusion, the benefits of nuclear energy have the potential to be the cleanest, most efficient form of energy when compared to the majority of fossil fuel energy producers. However, the potential is only an ideal, and since history has shown that businesses continue to take shortcuts in safety, the future of nuclear energy is unstable. There is no better example of potential instability than when examining the risks of fast breeder reactors. The stockpile of plutonium is both a risk for accidents that can occur and a risk towards dangerous potential weapon developments. We can only hope to have a greener future by being more strict on regulating nuclear energy and to do everything possible in protecting these sites from terrorism.